Now I'm going to bring back up Noreen, who will introduce the most suspenseful part of the night. Noreen, here you go.
Hello everyone, I hope everyone is having a good time. Are you having a good time? I want to begin by thanking every single person in this room who helps to bring great fiction into the hands of readers. Thank you all so much. Agents, editors, booksellers, librarians, all of you. Your work is so, so important. And from the bottom of my heart and everyone at the Center for Fiction, thank you so, so much. There are also a number of publishing houses represented here tonight who not only support this event, but support us throughout the year by helping us to get books for our Books at New York City Schools program, which B.J. mentioned, which is incredibly important. It's incredibly important to work with 75 schools and bring over 35,000 books into the hands of New York City school kids, especially in at-risk neighborhoods, and make readers out of them. And so I thank you all the publishing houses, and all the individuals who, over the course of the year, have helped to support that program. Thank you so, so much. There are a few people here this evening that I would like to call out in particular for their incredible support of the Center for Fiction and for their support this evening. And of course I can begin by thanking Knopf, who have been wonderful partners in this event. Thank you so much. And then, you know, we always think of publishers as helping to support a little nonprofit like the Center for Fiction, who's doing work to bring people to books. But there are a number of individuals here in this room who give very significantly to support emerging writers, to support books for New York City schools, to support all of the programs we do. And I'd like to thank them. Reva and Dave Williams, you are just incredible human beings. Thank you so much. Sharon Benenson, you have been such an astonishing supporter of the Center for Fiction for so many years, and I can't tell you how much your support has meant to me and to everyone associated with the Center for Fiction. Thank you so much. James and Mimi Stevens, I'm so sorry that Mimi thinks her twin grandchildren are more important than this event. But Jim and Mimi, again, you have been such staunch supporters of the Center for Fiction. Thank you so, so much. And I think it's so important for everyone in publishing the room to understand that there are people who are not connected with publishing at all, who think there's nothing more important in the world than getting great fiction into the hands of people all over this country. So thank you all. I'd also, of course, like to thank Audible for your support. You've been wonderful. And I would like to thank Other Press, who always is so incredibly generous to the Center for Fiction. Thank you so much, Judith, for your ongoing support. I also want to thank my board, who, you know, nonprofit organizations all have boards. And the boards come to meeting twice a year, and it's always fun. I hope it's always fun for those of you who are on boards. It's not fun for you to be on a board. Come be on our board, because it's fun. I have probably the world's best board, and I obviously have the world's best board chairman in Peter Ganay, so thank you. executive directors often stand up in front of a group like this and thank their staff, and you think, oh, well, they just have to thank their staff. But everything that is good about tonight, I have to thank my staff for. And I have to call out one name in particular, who I hired as an administrative assistant to me 6 months after I came to the Center for Fiction. And she's now the managing director of the Center for Fiction. And she's an extraordinary human being, an extraordinary poet. You'll hear from her as a poet, I guarantee it. And the best partner one could possibly have. So thank you, Kristen Henley, for everything. I would also like to thank Nancy Dunnan, who can't be here with us tonight, but who has so generously supported the Flaherty-Dunnan Prize in honor of her father, Ray Flaherty, who was an old-style, incredible newspaper man for so many years. Nancy not only provides the funds for us to present a $10,000 First Novel Prize, but she provides the support for each of the finalists in the prize to receive $1,000. And she is a steadfast supporter of the Center for Fiction. And an avid reader of fiction, at the end of each week, we have to find a new 6 books to send to Nancy at her apartment because she's read all the 6 books from the week before. So, Nancy, I know you're not here, but I hope you're hearing in some way how much I love you and how much I thank you. Thanks, Nancy. This is, in a way, one of my favorite parts of the evening because it's so important for the Center for Fiction through our writing workshops, which are taught by the most incredible writers. Rivka Galchin is in the room, and she teaches workshops at the Center for Fiction. Hannah Tinty is in the room. She also teaches at the Center for Fiction. We have a wonderful program. But we also support emerging writers. We receive over 300 applications a year, and we pick 9 writers who are all extraordinary writers, and we support them with everything: editorial help, space to work, money, time to write, everything we can possibly give to them. And we do this First Novel Prize because for us, there's nothing in the world as exciting about the fresh new voices writing fiction. And this year especially, I want to say to you all who are editors in publishing, just wow, what incredible debut novelists you have published this year. It's just extraordinary. For anyone who thinks fiction is in trouble or books are in trouble, they need to look at the people who are publishing first novels this year, because I actually don't think there's ever been a better year for first novels, and that is reflected, I think, in the finalists for our First Novel Prize this year. Last year when we presented the prize, we gave it to an extraordinary book, Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, written by Ben Fountain. So you all know what a great writer Ben Fountain is, but he's also an incredibly generous person who not only, Ben, supports the Center for Fiction in such a wonderful way, but also is such a supporter of young writers and such a mentor to young writers and such a great, great member of the literary community. So nothing could give me more pleasure than to present Ben Fountain, who will give our First Novel Prize this year. Thank you all so much.
Good evening, everybody. This summer at our house was known as the summer of 27 novels. And at the end of the summer and all this fall, I've been feeling pretty good about myself for getting through those 27 novels in a diligent way. And then I read Charles McGrath's piece in the New York Times about 10 days ago where he says he read 407 novels in 3 months. And Charles, I just want to say I'm glad you're up and about. And you really don't look that bad. I'd like to acknowledge and thank my fellow judges on the First Novel Prize panel, Victor Laval, Roxana Robinson, Christine Scott, and Luis Uria. It was a genuine pleasure working with all of you, fine people, and I'm very grateful for the experience. Sincere thanks to the Center for Fiction for putting on another great party. I think one of the most positive developments in American letters in the past 5 years is the way the Center for Fiction has come on strong in its support of writers and writing in this country. And so a great thanks to Noreen Tomasi and her fine staff for all the excellent work you're doing. And very special thanks to the wonderful Nancy Dunnan for sponsoring the First Novel Prize in memory of her late father, the Chicago Tribune columnist Ray Flaherty. So on to the prize. We have 8 strong finalists this year. These books embody the very best kind of fiction. They're engaged, clear-eyed, serious, unflinching, and a hell of a pleasure to read. All 8 of these novels could be the work of aging masters, and these writers are masters, but they're young. And I hope for many more fine books from these young writers. So the finalists for this year's prize are A Constellation of Vital Phenomenon by Anthony Mara, published by Novak. 11 Days by Lee Carpenter, published by Knopf. Ghana Must Go by Taye Selassie, published by Penguin. The Morels by Christopher Hacker, published by Soho Press. Mother Lunge by Kirsten Scott, published by New Issues Poetry and Prose. The Resolute Years by Mitchell Jackson, published by Bloomsbury. Wash by Margaret Wrinkle, published by Atlantic Monthly Press. Why by Marjorie Salona, published by Free Press and Simon & Schuster. And the winner of the 2013 Dunnan Flaherty First Novel Prize is Wash by Margaret Wrinkle.
Thank you. Good evening. This is pretty incredible. It's been a really long road to reach this point, as it is for every novel. But this particular first novel has taken me my whole life. It grew directly from the fact that I'm a 7th generation Southerner, born in Birmingham, Alabama, in July of 1963. Right after King's campaign, and right before the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. Like many white children in that era, some of my earliest and strongest bonds were with the black people who were being paid to take care of me. In particular, Ida Mae Lawson Washington, who came to work for my parents when I was 7 years old. She and Mr. Thomas Jefferson Goodwin, who goes by Tot, were the aristocrats of my childhood. They saw me and they taught me to see them. But in a still segregated world, those profound relationships were not supposed to be acknowledged. So I grew up crossing racial boundaries, carrying divided loyalties. And I think I've spent the rest of my life trying to capture the whole of that particular story. Growing up in a segregated place made me determined to bring together what had been kept separate. Put all these differing perspectives on equal footing, on shared turf. But it took what felt like forever, because competing truths never want to stand too close to one another. Writing this book took so long that I started to think something was wrong with it, and with me. But of course it finally arrived right on its own time, in 2013, which is the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Movement, and the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. First of all, I want to thank the Center for Fiction. I'm honored to be associated with such a place, and with these 7 incredible novels. And I want to thank the 2 women who resonated with Wash's story enough to be able to take a huge chance on him and on me, Marley Rusoff and Elizabeth Schmitz. Morgan Intrican was the one person who could make this happen, and he did. I'm grateful to Deb Seeger and everyone at Grove Atlantic, but especially Karina Barson, who saw the whole of this big picture with uncanny wisdom and spirit. But the most elemental thanks must go to the ancestors who haunted me into unearthing their stories and weaving them together into one, for being patient and relentless with me through all the years that I stumbled to find my way and finally learned how to honor the story that was given to me to tell. And there's all the people, both under the ground and still walking, who taught me how to hear these stories and understand them, to see across the divide. I was also lucky to find the traditional West African healer and teacher named Malidoma Somé, who taught me how to see across a related divide. 2 very different worldviews came together, collided within the crucible of slavery to create this country. And the reverberations of that collision are still playing out. These 2 different ways of seeing and being have long been in conflict, but it feels to me as if we're coming into a time which seeks their integration. To sum up a much bigger picture very quickly, traditional West African philosophy, and indeed all indigenous thought, is inherently spiritual and lives from an interconnected place and a non-linear worldview. Everything is animate. Everything that has ever happened is here all the time, and the eternal present moment is always accessible through ceremony and ritual. But the modernized West has become much more secular and linear, much more dependent on chronological time. The past is supposed to stay in the past, and we're supposed to be able to keep everything in separate categories. So you can see how misunderstandings have arisen. I know many of us often feel as if we don't know very much about ritual and ceremony, and that this ancient West African wisdom can seem very far from us now. But every story is itself a ceremony. Storytelling is the original time travel machine. Because once a story starts being told, everything in the story moves into the present and starts happening now. I find it helpful to remember that our stories are living beings, and they have the power to heal us or to damage us, depending on the relationship we decide to have with them. I was compelled to write this book about our shared past in order to understand our shared present. The story is just as much about now as it is about the early 1800s. My hope is that WASH can continue to serve as a catalyst for an ongoing and essential conversation that more and more of us seem increasingly able and willing to have. Thank you.
Do you want this, or can I keep this? No, it's up on your behalf. If you have a glass of champagne, please raise it in a toast to all of the 8 first novelists. Here. And join me in raising my imaginary glass, because I should have brought. Oh wow, it's going so well too. 2, fighting the good fight to bring great literature to life. Here. Thank you all for a wonderful evening, whether you arrived by subway or taxi or drone. I hope you get home safely. Thank you again. Have a wonderful night. Good night.